My name is Tanya. I am 24 years old. I work as a secretary in a small company. I live alone in a small apartment near the city. Every morning I wake up early. I take a shower, make a cup of tea, and get ready for work. My office is 30 minutes away by car. I listen to soft music on the way. It helps me feel calm before a long day. I start work at 8:30. My boss's name is Mr. Harris. He is 45 years old. He is tall and always wears a clean suit. He speaks in a soft voice, but he likes things done quickly. When I reach the office, I make coffee for him first. He likes his coffee strong with no sugar. Then I open my computer, check emails, and answer phone calls. My desk is near the front door, so I am the first person everyone sees when they come in. On Mondays, the office is very busy. Mr. Harris often asks me to do many things at once. Sometimes I write letters, print papers, or make appointments. Sometimes he calls me into his office for small personal tasks. I always say yes, even when I am tired. I want to do a good job. I want him to be happy with my work. But after I help him with his personal things, I often feel strange. I cannot explain it well, but I feel uncomfortable. Mr. Harris is kind in some ways. He often buys me small gifts, like a box of chocolates or a flower for my desk. Once, he gave me a scarf for my birthday. He smiled and said, "You look beautiful in this color." I said thank you, but I felt shy. That night I looked at the scarf for a long time. I liked it, but I did not know why he gave it to me. No one else in the office got gifts from him. My coworker Lily once said quietly, "Tanya, the boss is very nice to you." I laughed and said, "He is nice to everyone." But inside, I knew she was right. He often called me into his office more than others. When we were alone, his tone was different. He smiled more. He talked about his life and asked about mine. I liked the attention. No one had ever made me feel that important before. I started thinking about him more. When I got home in the evening, I often thought about what he said that day. Sometimes I dreamed about him. It made me feel happy, but also confused. He was my boss, not my friend. Still, I liked how he looked at me and how he smiled when I brought him coffee. Every day followed the same routine. I worked hard all morning, answered phone calls, and organized his meetings. At lunch, I sat alone at my desk. Mr. Harris sometimes came out and asked, "Have you eaten?" I would say yes, even when I had not. Once he brought me a sandwich from the cafe nearby. He said, "You work too hard, Tanya. You need to take care of yourself." His words stayed in my mind all day. I felt warm inside. I thought maybe he really cared about me. In the afternoon, I often took the mail to the post office. The walk was short, and the fresh air helped me feel better. I liked being outside for a few minutes. Then I came back, cleaned the tables, and prepared things for the next day. I always left the office around 6:30. By the time I reached home, it was already dark. At home, I made a simple dinner, some soup or pasta. Then I watched TV or checked my phone. I did not have many friends in the city. Sometimes I went to the store to buy groceries. On Fridays, I called my mother. She lived in another town. She always asked, "How is work, Tanya?" I said, "It's fine. My boss is nice." I never told her about the strange feeling I had after some days at the office. I did not want her to worry. One Monday morning, I arrived a little late. There was traffic on the road. When I entered the office, Mr. Harris was already there. He looked at his watch and said, "You are late, Tanya." I said sorry and explained about the traffic. His face was serious for a moment, but then he smiled. "Next time, leave earlier," he said. Then he handed me a small box. "This is for you," he added. I opened it. Inside was a silver bracelet. "You don't need to," I said softly. "I wanted to," he replied. "You make my work easier." I smiled but felt nervous. I did not know what to say. Later that day, Lily saw the bracelet. She raised her eyebrows and said, "Another gift?" I told her it was just for helping with extra work. She did not look convinced. "Be careful," she said. I laughed it off, but her words stayed in my mind. That evening when I got home, I sat on my bed holding the bracelet. It was beautiful, but I felt uneasy. I wanted to believe Mr. Harris was just kind, but I was not sure anymore. I remembered how his hand touched mine when he gave me the box. It was only for a second, but it made me blush. The next few days, he was even more friendly. He asked about my weekend plans. He offered to drive me home when it rained. Once he said, "You look tired. You should rest more." I smiled and said thank you. I liked hearing those words from him. They made me feel seen. But part of me started to wonder if this was normal between a boss and his secretary. One afternoon, when everyone had gone home, Mr. Harris asked me to stay a little longer. He said he needed help with some files. I agreed, even though I was tired. I wanted to show I was responsible. We worked in silence for some time. Then he said, "You are very special, Tanya." My hands froze for a moment. I looked at him, unsure what to say. He smiled and continued, "You are not like the others. You understand me." My heart started to beat fast. I said, "Thank you, sir." He laughed softly. "You can call me Mark when we are alone." That night I could not sleep well. I kept thinking about his words. "You are very special." I liked hearing them, but they also confused me. Was this still work, or was it something else? I tried to stop thinking about it, but it was not easy. The next morning, I came to the office early. I wanted to avoid being alone with him again. But when he arrived, he smiled like nothing had happened. "Good morning, Tanya," he said. "Good morning, sir," I replied, pretending to be calm. All day I tried to stay busy. I answered calls, sent emails, and avoided long talks. But he still found moments to come near my desk and say small things like, "You look nice today," or "That color suits you." I smiled politely, but my hands trembled each time. By the end of the week, I felt tired, not just from work, but from thinking too much. I wanted to believe Mr. Harris cared for me in a good way, but deep down, I was unsure. I liked his attention, but it also made me feel guilty. I was his secretary, not his friend or girlfriend. Still, part of me wished his kindness meant something real. That Friday evening when I drove home, the radio played a love song. I smiled softly and thought about his smile, his gifts, and his gentle voice. But then I remembered Lily's words, "Be careful." My smile faded. I wanted to trust my boss, but something about his kindness did not feel safe anymore. That night, as I turned off the light, I told myself it was just work, nothing more. But in my heart, I was no longer sure. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. The next week began like every other one. I woke up early, dressed in my light blue blouse, and tied my hair in a simple ponytail. I tried to think of nothing but work. On the drive to the office, I kept telling myself that Mr. Harris was only my boss and nothing more. I wanted to believe that if I worked hard and stayed polite, everything would stay normal. When I arrived, he was already there. He was sitting at his desk reading some papers. I greeted him with a quiet, "Good morning." He looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Tanya. You look very nice today." I said thank you and quickly walked to my desk. I could feel his eyes on me, and I felt uncomfortable, though I did not show it. I tried to stay busy all morning. The phone rang many times. I wrote emails, printed letters, and sorted the mail. I wanted to focus on my tasks, but my mind kept going back to him. Every time he came out of his office, I felt nervous. Sometimes I hoped he would talk to me. Sometimes I wished he would leave me alone. It was a strange mix of feelings, and I did not understand them. At lunchtime, Lily came to sit with me. She opened her sandwich and said, "You seem quiet today." I said I was just tired. She looked at me carefully and said, "You can tell me if something is wrong." I smiled and shook my head. "Everything is fine." I did not want to talk about Mr. Harris. I did not want anyone to know what I was feeling. That afternoon, he asked me to stay after work again. I wanted to say no, but I was afraid to make him angry. He said he needed help finishing a report. Everyone else had gone home. The office was quiet, and only the sound of the clock filled the room. I typed while he spoke softly behind me. Then, after a moment of silence, he said, "Tanya, do you like working here?" "Yes, I do," I said quickly. He stood up and came closer. "I am glad," he said. "You are a good worker. You make this office brighter." His words made me blush. But I looked down at the papers. Then he said, "You are more than just my secretary to me." I looked up, confused. "What do you mean, sir?" He smiled. "I mean, I care about you." His voice was soft, but it made me feel trapped. I did not know what to say. I smiled weakly and said, "Thank you, sir. That's very kind." He stepped back, still smiling. "You don't have to call me sir. I told you before. You can call me Mark." That evening, I drove home in silence. My hands shook a little on the steering wheel. I kept hearing his voice say, "I care about you." Those words should have made me happy, but they did not. I felt small and scared. I knew something was wrong, but I did not know what to do. That night, I did not eat much dinner. I sat at the table staring at my food. I thought about how he looked at me, how he smiled, and how he made me feel special. But I also remembered the way my heart beat fast when he stood too close. I did not feel safe anymore. The next morning, I woke up feeling tired. My eyes were heavy from little sleep. When I reached the office, I tried to act normal. I said good morning to everyone. Mr. Harris smiled at me, but I did not look directly at him. I stayed busy with calls and papers. When he called me into his office, I said I was working on something important. For the first time, I made an excuse. He said, "Okay, come when you finish." I never went. During lunch, I sat outside the office with my sandwich. Lily joined me again. She looked at me and said, "You look worried, Tanya. What happened?" I wanted to stay quiet, but my eyes filled with tears. I said softly, "I think my boss likes me, but not in a normal way." Lily frowned. "What do you mean?" I told her about the gifts and what he said when we were alone. Lily looked serious. "Tanya, that's not okay," she said. "You are his employee. He should respect you." I looked down. "But he has never been rude. He is just kind." "Kind doesn't mean he can say those things," she replied. "He knows you are young and new. He should keep things professional." Her words made sense. I felt a mix of fear and sadness. I wanted to believe she was wrong, but deep down, I knew she was right. That night, I went home and cried quietly. I did not understand how a person who seemed so nice could make me feel so bad. I thought about quitting my job, but I needed the money. My rent was high, and I had no one else to help me. The next day, I tried to stay away from him. When he called me, I answered from my desk instead of going inside. I spoke only about work. He seemed confused. "Are you okay, Tanya?" he asked. I said, "Yes, I'm fine." But my voice was cold. That Friday before leaving, he stopped by my desk. "You've been different this week," he said. "Did I do something wrong?" I looked at him. His face looked kind, but I remembered Lily's words. I said, "No, everything is fine, sir." He sighed and said, "If you say so. I just thought we were friends." Then he walked away. That night, I could not sleep. I thought about his last words. "I just thought we were friends." Maybe he really believed that. Maybe he did not see how his actions made me feel. Or maybe he did know, and he just did not care. I did not know which answer was worse. Over the weekend, I stayed home. I cleaned, watched TV, and called my mother. She said, "You sound tired, Tanya. Is everything okay at work?" I wanted to tell her everything, but I said, "Yes, everything is fine. Just busy." On Monday morning, I stood in front of the mirror before leaving home. I looked at myself carefully. I wanted to look professional, not pretty. I wore simple clothes and no lipstick. I told myself this week would be different. I would keep things only about work. When I reached the office, I smiled politely at everyone. Mr. Harris said, "Good morning, Tanya." I answered, "Good morning, sir," in a flat voice. He looked surprised. During the day, he gave me many tasks, but said little else. I was glad. The week passed quietly, and I felt calmer. On Friday afternoon, he called me into his office. I hesitated but went in. He said, "I have some files for you to send later. And Tanya, I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable." His tone was serious. I looked at him, unsure what to say. "I didn't mean to," he said softly. "I just enjoy talking to you." I nodded. "I understand. Let's just keep things about work," I said. He looked down for a moment, then smiled. "Of course." When I left his office, I felt a little lighter. Maybe things would be normal again. Maybe he meant what he said. But deep inside, I still did not fully trust him. That night, I watched TV and ate dinner alone. I tried to think about the future. I wanted a better job one day, somewhere I would feel safe and respected. I did not want to spend my days worrying about what my boss might say next. I was not sure if I was brave enough to leave yet, but I was starting to see the truth. Mr. Harris cared about me, but not in a way that was right. I could no longer pretend it was simple kindness. For the first time, I began to ask myself what kind of person I wanted to be. Someone who stayed silent, or someone who stood up for herself? I was not ready to answer that question yet, but I knew I would have to, soon. The next few weeks passed quietly. Mr. Harris spoke less to me. He only asked for reports or gave short instructions. I was thankful for that. The office felt normal again. Still, every time he called my name, I felt a small fear inside. I was always careful to keep the door open when I entered his office. One afternoon, something changed. A new assistant joined the company. Her name was Julia. She was 20 years old, friendly, and always smiling. On her first day, Mr. Harris asked me to train her. I showed her how to answer the phone, use the printer, and write simple emails. She learned fast and seemed happy to work here. I liked her. After a few days, I began to notice something. Mr. Harris started giving Julia small gifts too. A notebook, a coffee mug, even a small perfume bottle. He told her she was a bright young worker. When I saw that, my heart felt heavy. For months, I believed I was special to him. Now I understood that I was not. This was his habit. This was what he did with women who worked for him. That night when I went home, I felt both sad and free. I sat on my bed and said out loud, "He does not care about me." It hurt to say those words, but they were true. All the gifts, all the kind words, they were not love. They were a way to control me. The next morning, I came to the office early. I looked around the small room I had worked in for 2 years. The phones, the computers, the smell of coffee. It all felt different now. I realized how much I had changed. I no longer wanted his attention. I wanted respect. When Mr. Harris arrived, he greeted me as usual. "Good morning, Tanya." I smiled politely. "Good morning, sir." Then I handed him a small envelope. He looked confused. "What is this?" he asked. "My resignation letter," I said softly. He stared at me. "You're leaving?" "Yes," I said. "I found another job. I start next month." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I didn't think you were unhappy here." "I wasn't unhappy," I said, "but I want to work somewhere I can grow and feel safe." He looked down, then nodded slowly. "I see," he said. "I wish you good luck." I thanked him and walked out of his office. My hands were shaking, but my heart felt light. For the first time in many months, I felt proud of myself. During my last week, I helped Julia with her work and showed her how to organize the files. She was kind and asked me why I was leaving. I smiled and said, "It's time for a change." I wanted to warn her about Mr. Harris, but I decided not to. She would see who he was soon enough. On my final day, I turned off my computer, cleaned my desk, and looked around one last time. The place felt smaller than before. I walked out of the office with my bag and my head held high. The air outside was warm. The sun was bright. I took a deep breath and smiled. I did not know what my new job would be like, but I knew one thing. I would never let anyone make me feel small again. When I got home, I made a cup of tea and sat by the window. For a moment, I thought about Mr. Harris and all the times I believed he cared about me. I no longer felt angry, just wiser. I whispered to myself, "I deserve better." And for the first time, I truly believed it. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English. My name is Mira. I am 25 years old. I live in a small and quiet town. My family is not rich, but we live a simple and good life. My parents are very strict. They are also very religious. They taught me many things about life, love, and marriage. They always said that love is a pure and clean thing. They said marriage is a special bond that must be respected. I listened to them from a young age, and their words stayed inside my mind for many years. Because of my parents and their lessons, I grew up with strong beliefs. I believed I must wait for marriage. I believed that my body and my heart must stay safe until I found the right man and the right time. I never dated anyone. I never had a boyfriend. I never went to parties with boys. I never kissed anyone. My lips never touched another person's lips. This was my own choice. It came from my values and my family's teachings. When I went to college, I saw many different girls. They did not live like me. They dated boys. They talked about love. They talked about kisses and nights out. They laughed when they spoke about their boyfriends. Some girls called me old style. They said I was slow or strange. But I did not feel bad. I did not feel hurt. I did not care about what they said because I believed in my path. I felt sure about my values. I felt safe with my choices. I always had hope inside me. I believed my heart would know the right man when he came. I dreamed of a true love story, a love that was honest and deep. I wanted a partner who understood my beliefs. I wanted someone who respected my choice to wait. I imagined my wedding day. I dreamed of a day full of light, with a simple dress, warm smiles, and a quiet promise between two people who wanted the same life. I did not want to rush into love. I wanted to take my time. My life in my small town was slow and peaceful. I lived with my parents. I studied hard in college. I read many books about the world. I learned about people and places far from my town. But one thought stayed with me every day. I wanted to find a man who loved me for who I am. I wanted to find someone who looked at me with respect. This hope lived in me like a soft light. I knew that many other people lived in different ways. Some had many relationships before they married. Some changed partners often. People follow their own path, and I understood that, but my way was special to me. I chose to protect my heart. I wanted to give it to one person only. This person would be my husband. We would build a good life together. I waited with patience and trust. Now I was 25. I felt ready for love, but I still wanted the right kind of love. I wanted love that fit my beliefs. I wanted love that stayed. I did not know what the next day would bring, but I felt ready for change. I trusted my faith. I trusted my heart. My story was slow, but it was mine. One day, something new began. I went to a coffee shop in a nearby city. I sat near the window with a warm drink in my hand. The room was bright and full of people. As I looked around, a man walked in. His name was Rian. He was tall and confident. He wore a nice suit. His hair was neat, and he had a bright smile. When he saw me, he smiled in a warm way. My face felt warm. I felt shy, but he came closer and spoke to me. He said he liked my simple clothes and my calm voice. I did not know why these words made me feel special, but they did. No one had ever spoken to me like that. His smile stayed with me even after I left the shop. Later, I told my friend Zara about him. Zara had many friends. She knew many people. When I said the name Ryan, she looked at me for a long time. Then she gave me a warning. She said, "Mira, be careful. He is not a good man. He moves from girl to girl. He does not stay with one person." Her words made me worried. I did not want to believe her. I hoped she was wrong. But even after her warning, I kept thinking about him. I felt a strong pull when I thought of his smile. I believed that love could change a person. I believed that if he truly cared for me, he would respect my values. I wanted to believe he could be better. I wanted to believe he was different with me. Soon, Rian started to call me every day. He sent me flowers, bright red ones, to my home. He sent boxes of sweet chocolates. He wrote kind messages on my phone. Every gift made me feel important. His words made me smile. He always knew how to make me feel happy. I had never felt this way before. I felt like he saw me. I felt like he chose me. I thought maybe he was the man I had waited for all my life. He made me believe he loved me. I began to see my future with him. I imagined a home, a simple life, and respect between us. I believed he was the answer to my long wait. One evening, Rian planned a special night. He took me to a beautiful restaurant. I had never seen a place like that. The lights were soft. The music was slow. I wore a red dress for the first time. I felt older and different. Rian looked at me and said I looked wonderful. His words felt warm in my heart. We talked through dinner. We laughed many times. He made me feel like I was the only person in the room. I felt safe and happy. After we ate, he drove me home. The night was quiet. The car was dark. When he stopped the car near my house, he turned to me. His eyes looked warm and deep. He said, "Mira, I think about you all the time." My heart beat fast. Then he moved closer. Before I understood what was happening, he kissed me. It was my first kiss. His lips were soft. The world felt quiet. I felt warm and unsure at the same time. I did not pull away. I let it happen. When the kiss ended, I felt happy, but also afraid. My parents had told me to wait for marriage. I thought of their rules. I thought of my old beliefs. I wondered if I had made a mistake. That night, I could not sleep. I thought about Rian and the kiss. I thought about my promise to myself. I asked myself if love could change things. I wanted to trust him. I wanted to trust my heart. The next day, Rian called and asked to see me again. When we met, he wanted to be close to me again. His voice was soft, but strong. I felt scared. Things were moving too fast. I took a deep breath and said, "No. I want to wait. I want to wait until I am married." He looked at me and smiled. He said, "Then we will marry soon. Very soon." His words made me feel light again. I believed him. I believed he wanted a real future with me. This is where my story began to change in ways I did not expect. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. 1 week passed after Rian said we would marry soon. My heart felt full of hope. I thought my dream was close. I thought my long wait had meaning. I woke up each day with a smile. I told myself that love was finally here. Then one afternoon, Rian called me. His voice was excited. He said he had to go to Las Vegas for work. He said he wanted me to come with him. Then he said the words I never expected to hear. He said, "Let us get married there. I do not want to wait." I felt my whole body go still. My dream of marriage was coming fast, faster than I ever imagined. I did not know what to say at first. I had always wanted a simple church wedding, but I also loved him. I believed he loved me too. I wanted to be his wife. I said yes. We traveled to Las Vegas 2 days later. The city was bright and loud. There were many people, tall buildings, and big lights everywhere. I felt small in that place. But Ryan walked beside me and held my hand. I tried to stay calm. I wanted to trust him. I wore a plain white dress that I bought before the trip. It was simple, but it felt special to me. Ryan said I looked nice. We found a small wedding chapel. It was warm inside. There were no guests, no music, no family, no friends, only Ryan and me. A man stood in front of us and began the ceremony. Ryan looked into my eyes. He said his vows. I said mine. Then the man said we were husband and wife. Ryan kissed me and whispered, "Now you are my wife." I felt happy at that moment. I thought this was the start of my new life. But the night was not what I imagined. After the wedding, we went to a hotel. I expected joy and warm words. I expected love. But Ryan changed. He did not look at me the same way. His voice was not soft. He took a drink, then another drink. Then he took his phone and walked into the next room. He stayed there for a long time. I sat alone on the bed. The lights from the city came through the window, but they did not make me feel safe. I waited for him to come back. I waited for a smile or even a kind word, but he did not say much when he returned. Something felt wrong. My heart felt cold, but I tried to tell myself that he was tired. I tried to hope the next day would be better. The next morning, he left the room without saying anything. I sat on the bed and waited. I waited for an hour, then 2 hours, then many hours. I looked at the door again and again. I waited for the man I had married, but he did not return. The sun moved across the sky. My white dress was still on the chair. My wedding ring felt heavy on my hand. My mind felt confused. Why was he gone? Why was he so quiet? I felt fear, but also sadness. Then he came back. His face was cold. His eyes were empty. He did not sit down. He did not smile. He looked at me and said one sentence that broke my life. He said, "I want a divorce." I could not speak. I waited for him to laugh and say it was a joke, but he did not laugh. He was serious. He said, "You are not what I wanted. You are too simple. You do not fit in my life." Each word hurt me. I felt weak. I felt lost. I felt small. He said more things that cut into me. He said, "You waited all your life for this, and look at it now." I cried. I cried until I could not see clearly. I asked him why he married me if he did not want me. He did not answer. He took his bag and left the room. He did not look back. I stayed on the floor and cried. I cried until the night came. I cried until my heart felt empty. I tried to call him, but he never answered. He blocked my number. He did not send one message. He did not care about me. I had to go back home alone. I sat on the plane with my simple ring in my hand. I looked out the window and felt lost. My wedding was only 1 day old. My marriage ended before it even began. When I reached home, my family saw me at the door. They were shocked. They were angry. They said I had brought shame to them. They said I was careless. They said I should not have married so fast. They did not want to look at me. They did not want to hear my story. They did not know how much pain I carried. Their words added more hurt to my heart. I had no place to go. I had no husband. I had no support from my family. I felt like my whole life had fallen apart. The future I dreamed about was gone. My trust was broken. My heart felt weak. I stayed in my room for days. I did not speak much. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I thought my life had ended. Then one day, my friend Zara called me. She asked me to come stay with her in the city. She lived in a small apartment. She said she would help me. She said I did not have to face this pain alone. I felt grateful. I packed my few things and left my parents' home. I moved to the city and stayed with her. She gave me a bed. She cooked food for me. She helped me look for a job. She was kind and patient. I needed that kindness more than anything. Life in the city was fast and loud, but the bookstore job she found for me was quiet. I liked arranging the books. I liked helping customers. It gave me peace. It gave me a small space in this big world. I told myself that I would try to heal. I told myself that time might help me. One afternoon, a customer walked in and placed a magazine on the counter. When I looked at the cover, I felt my hands freeze. There was a photo of Ryan on the front. He stood next to a very beautiful woman. The title said, "Businessman Ryan Cade and His Secret Marriage." My heart moved in fear and shock. I picked up the magazine and read the story. It said he owned many companies. It said he was rich and important. It said he was famous. He never told me any of this. He never told me he was a businessman with power and money. I understood then. He had used me. Maybe I was nothing to him. Maybe our fast wedding was part of a game. The pain in my heart grew stronger. But inside me, a new feeling started to grow too. It was not hope. And it was not fear. It was something more firm. Something more clear. I told myself that I could not let him destroy my life. I told myself that I must stand up. I must fight for what was right. My story was not over yet. When I saw the magazine with Ryan's face on the cover, I felt a strong shock. I held the magazine and read the words again and again. He was at a big party with a beautiful woman. The title called him a rich businessman. I learned he owned many companies. I did not know this before. He never told me the truth. I understood then that he had used me. He married me and left me like I was nothing. The sadness inside me grew, but a new strength started to form. I told myself that I could not stay quiet. I had to stand up for myself. The next day, I went to a lawyer. His office was small, and he listened to me with care. I showed him the wedding papers from Las Vegas. He looked at them and said my marriage was real. He said I had rights. His words gave me hope. I felt like I could breathe again. I did not want revenge. I only wanted fairness. I wanted to protect my dignity. The lawyer helped me write the papers for the case. We told the truth about the fast wedding, the sudden divorce, and the pain he caused me. When Ryan got the legal papers, he called me. His voice was cold, and he asked why I wanted money. I felt a small fear, but I spoke clearly. I said he took my heart and left me with nothing. I said I would take what I deserved. I ended the call and felt proud. For the first time, I did not feel weak in front of him. News about the case spread fast. People talked about it. Some wanted to know my story, but I stayed quiet and focused on the court. Ryan was angry because he did not want the world to know what he had done. Still, I stayed calm. I went to work every day and waited for the court date. When the day came, I walked into the courtroom with my lawyer. I wore a simple dress. My hands felt warm, but I stayed strong. Ryan sat on the other side of the room. He did not look at me. The judge listened to both sides. He read the papers and heard the truth. He saw the proof. After a long time, the judge made his decision. He said Ryan must give me money. It was enough to help me begin a new life. It also showed that what he did was wrong. I felt relief. I felt lighter. I walked out of the courtroom with my head high. I had fought for myself and won. I knew I had made the right choice. After the case, my parents called me. They said they forgave me and asked me to return home. I loved them, but I was not the same person anymore. I needed to live my own life now. I told them that I loved them, but needed to stay on my own path. It was a hard call, but I felt calm after it. With the money from the court, I found a small apartment. It had one room, a small kitchen, and a living area. I bought simple furniture and placed a few plants near the window. The apartment felt warm and safe. It was my space. It felt like a new beginning. I kept working at the bookstore. I liked the quiet place. I liked the sound of turning pages and the smell of new books. Later, I started taking online classes. I wanted to open my own bookstore one day. The dream made me feel excited. It gave me a reason to work hard each day. Life slowly became calm again. I learned important lessons. I learned that love needs respect. Ryan did not respect me, and that was why my marriage ended in pain. I promised myself to choose better in the future. I would not let anyone treat me like that again. Sometimes I saw Ryan in magazines. He smiled in every picture and stood with important people. But when I looked at him now, I felt nothing. No pain, no anger. My heart was free from him. I had let everything go. I felt proud of the person I was becoming. I learned to stand alone. I learned to trust myself. Even after all the hurt, my heart was still clean. No one could take that from me. I still hoped for a true and honest love one day, but I was not in a hurry. I wanted to build my life first. One evening, I sat on my small sofa with a book in my hand. The room was quiet. The warm light touched the walls. I looked around and felt peace. My life had not been easy, but I had survived. I had grown stronger. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English.